There are some movies that feel different depending on when you watch them. What's going on in your life, what's going on in the world, and which character you emotionally connect with at that moment. The Lives of Others is one of those films for me. I watched it at very different points in my life, and every time a different lesson stood out. Not because the movie changed, but because I did. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about this film. It doesn't tell you what to think, it gives you space to discover what matters to you now. Just a trigger note for this video, I'm probably going to pronounce a lot of things wrong, so I'm sorry about that. This film is set in East Germany in the 1980s, under a communist surveillance state. The story follows Gerd Wiesler, a Stasi intelligence officer assigned to bug an apartment and listen to, document, and report on the daily lives of a playwright, George Draiman, and his partner, Krista. That's his job. Install listening devices, monitor every conversation, file reports for the state. What's remarkable is how contained this movie is. Overall, there's very few locations, very few characters, and almost no traditional action, and yet it tells one of the most emotionally powerful stories I've ever seen. It took multiple viewings and more life experience to really see that. The backdrop alone carries a lesson. If you grew up in a free, democratic society, this movie triggers an immediate reaction. Anger, discomfort, a sense that something is deeply wrong. What the movie shows clearly is what these systems create. Echo chambers of belief, loyalty valued over independent thought, obedience framed as morality, and inside that system, you get people like Wiesler. Wiesler isn't portrayed as a villain. He's disciplined, committed, serious about doing what he believes is right. But he's also deeply isolated. He has no real community, no close relationships with people who see the world differently, no emotional life outside the state. Everyone around him believes the same things, and that matters. Because pluralism, having people with different views in your life, forces reflection. Without it, belief hardens. The film doesn't explain this to you, it lets you see it play out. As part of his assignment, Wiesler spends his days and nights alone in an attic, listening through headphones to the private conversations inside the apartment he has bugged. He listens to lovers talk, artists debate, people laugh, people struggle. It never stops. He's forced into prolonged exposure to the lives of people he would never choose to associate with. And what changes isn't ideology, it's human connection. The playwright isn't a radical, he's thoughtful. He's trying to live a good life and create art without provoking the state. When one of Draiman's, the playwright's, closest friends is destroyed by the system and later takes his own life, Wiesler hears the grief unfold as it happens. That moment matters, because I don't think Wiesler is persuaded by political arguments. I think he recognizes something familiar. He hears someone who, like him, wants to be good, even though they disagree about what good means. They share core values, integrity, seriousness, a sense of moral responsibility. That shared ground opens the door. This feels especially relevant now. Most of us have an instinctive defensiveness when our beliefs are challenged. It feels almost biological. Social media makes it easy to avoid that discomfort. We choose spaces where everyone agrees, we avoid friction, we avoid disagreement. Older forms of community didn't work that way. You had neighbors, co-workers, family, and you had to engage. This film suggests that people don't change through attack. They change through relationship, through trust, through familiarity, through respect. Not shouting, but connection. Then there's Krista, and she really isn't a lesson, she's a mirror. She's manipulated, cornered, terrified. She betrays someone she loves under extreme coercion, in a system where people disappear without explanation. Were you angry with her or empathetic? I never personally felt malice towards her, only sadness. The film doesn't tell you how to feel, it lets you learn something about yourself. After German East-West reunification, citizens were allowed to actually access their Stasi surveillance files. That's real history. So in the movie, Draymond the playwright reads his file and realizes how closely he was monitored and bugged, and how close he came to being arrested. But at the exact moment his arrest should have happened, the report reads, "Nothing to report." And the reporting officer is labeled in that as simply HGW XX7. And the playwright understands that this man deliberately protected him. Years later, Draymond writes a novel called Sonata for a Good Man. The dedication reads, "To HGW XX7 with gratitude." When Wiesler later buys the book, at the store the clerk asks if the book's a gift, and he replies, "No, it's for me." That moment still chokes me up every time, because Wiesler never expected recognition. He believed the system would last forever after all. He did the right thing thinking no one would ever know. This movie pushes back against the idea that change only comes from grand gestures. Instead, it shows accumulation. One decision, one omission, one life spared, one voice preserved, one act of gratitude years later. Wiesler didn't change who he was, he corrected it. And that correction mattered. The lives of others is restrained, focused, elegant. And yet it asks enormous questions about power, empathy, morality, and courage. It reminds us that small, unseen decisions matter, even if we never see the outcome. And that's why, years later, this film still teaches me something new.